everybody. My name is Brittany Terek, and for my show and tell portion of this project, I chose to do a flipped classroom environment for my overall prototype for LDT 550. I wanted to do a flipped classroom for a new course that I was writing, which is child development. Enjoy. So what is a flipped classroom? The idea of a flipped classroom is that the lecture or the direct instruction is done at home on students' own time. And then in class, we have time for activities or discussions and higher order of thinking. Here's an example of some findings that I had. So the reason I chose this flipped classroom environment is because of some educational goals and problems that I have. The problem that I see in classrooms a lot is that students are not as independent, and I want them to be held accountable for their own learning. So in this case, the goal I had was a more student-centered classroom with more hands-on learning. For my notes for this chapter, I recorded myself via a Screencastify or other technology tool in order for me to give the notes on a presentation so that the students can watch them at home and fill out their student notes ahead of time. This helps free up a lot of class time. The next two slides are done on EduCreations. I use this tech tool for an assignment, and I actually really enjoyed using EduCreations. In both this one, which is the stages of fetal development during pregnancy, and our next slide on conception, I went through the different stages and I marked up the different slides and different pictures throughout the EduCreation slideshow. I think it's really innovative and a fun tool to use, and it is going to be helpful for a flipped classroom environment in order to allow my students to look at these notes and videos ahead of time before we have classroom discussions. This is an example of the project directions for a conception project. The big portion of the project is creating the EduBlogs website. I have them actually create their own website and pick their own theme and play around with the dashboard and really get to know the environment of EduBlogs. This is then a portion of an example of one of my conception projects. It's just the very top portion of one of the posts on their website. They were asked a series of questions to answer about conception. They had to find an app. They also had to find a video that talked about conception. So it's very influential. This is an example of a set of notes that I had my students taking while using either the notes from a video or videos that they are watching on any of the tech tools that I had from them. They are supposed to take their notes at home so that way we can review the information if anything was confusing in the classroom. This is an example of an Ed Puzzle video. I actually just took the video from YouTube and then I added a series of questions so that they were thinking and learning while the video was playing during this idea of doing this at home on their own, and then we can have discussions about the videos when they come into school the next day. Each of my students were assigned a type of contraceptive or birth control, and I had them create Google Slides and do some research on all of the information about their contraceptive. They are then going to share out while we're in class, but they had to do this on their own time at home. These are some more examples of Ed Puzzle videos that I grabbed from YouTube, and then I added a series of questions so that my students were held accountable to watch the videos as well as make sure that they were identifying what they were learning while watching the videos at home and doing more of the content work at home on their own time. This is one of the student handouts that I will be giving students to do in class after they have watched the video on the notes for the chapter. That way they can have some class discussions with the people in their class or in their group specifically about detecting birth defects, and if they have any other questions, there are videos for them to watch. I have my students use a lot of apps, and within this specific unit that I planned for a flipped classroom, I used Kahoot and Quizlet for quiz review for the Chapter 4 unit test. So I have some reviews that are going to be coming up next that you can see examples of for classroom quiz review. This is an example of the Quizlet prenatal development review for the quiz. What it is a series of flashcards, but as you can see, there's also Other options such as matching, you can have them take their own tests, and then they have other learning activities to review from on their own and in class. Kahoot has always been one of my favorite things to do in class to review. Students really get engaged and involved because it is somewhat of a challenge, as well as they can win against other teammates or other peers in their class. And it's a more exciting way for students to review the knowledge from the chapter or the unit. We use Canvas as our learning management system at my high school, and I am using Canvas for the Unit 4 test. It's actually really great to put your tests online versus on paper. It's a lot easier to grade, and it gives students scores right away that just transfers over. So Canvas is a really neat tool to use. So this portion of my flipped classroom, I integrated the video editing and video making portion of the LDT 550 course. And I found it really interesting because I have made movies in the past, but I have never edited them to this extreme. And it was really fun making the video, but also very interesting to learn. So within the unit, my students are going to be asked to do a real care baby movie as one of their final projects. After my students have taken their real care baby home with them for a weekend, they are going to document different types of things that happen throughout the weekend, which is noted, and they are going to make a movie all about this. And finally, I have my example of the video that I made and I edited for my final tech module, but I also used this